very special episode of Realities May Vary. I went to an after-school special move with that one, Cody. Did you like that? The very special episode.
I liked it, but you said another very special episode, but I don't think that any episode that we have is quite as special as this one.
No, that's true. I would love to think that every episode we do is very special, but truth be told, most of them are just run-of-the-mill. Pretty good, but nothing to write home about.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a very special. It is our yearly visit from the good folks at Goose Island in advance of Black Friday and the Bourbon County Stout releases. We are very excited. I'm going to let you talk for a minute because I need to take a bite of something. Ooh, you got your Goose Island Church Key bottle opener. Oh. I just got off the air, so I'm starving. And I know if I drink Bourbon County Stout on an empty stomach, the last part of this interview is going to be yeah. So talk for a second.
I had a McRib for dinner. I was working late. I had a lot going on. And then my wife called. She's like, hey, there's some chicken you can put in the oven if you have any culinary skills, which I do, by the way. I used to make a mean chicken breast, but that didn't happen. So she's like, what do you want, a burger? I'm like, I literally don't care. She shows up with a McRib. Must have seen my award-winning YouTube video entitled Cody Eats a McRib that I posted on. I uploaded it about 10 years ago. And it's literally just a video of me eating a McRib. There's nothing. It's just me sitting at my desk eating a McRib. I don't know why I made it. I don't know why I uploaded it. I'm a weird guy. But I got my Goose Island key, whatever you called it, bottle. It's a bottle opener.
Bottle opener.
Key, I
said church key. I don't know why.
I got two Goose Island Bourbon County Stout branded snifters, which I've had these for quite some time. One's a prop day snifter. These are from the last couple of years.
You're very fancy. I'll show off mine before we bring the guys in because they've seen these all. And they already think we're nerds. But I have this fancy shaped prop days snifter, and then I have just two of the regular snifters. So I'm all poured and ready to go. So why don't we bring everybody in? Because really, this is it's an exciting time of year. It's almost like Christmas. Let's first say hello to Mike Smith. He's a senior brand manager at Goose Island. He handles Bourbon County Stout and the vintage portfolio for Goose Island. Hello, Mike. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you fine.
Oh, thanks for having me again. Excited to be here. And like you said, this is like Christmas for us. A few days away.
Is. Dude, I got to ask before we bring in Paul and Jason, two of the brewers who have created one of the variants we're going to try tonight. Does it ever get old for you, especially the guy who's the brand manager and you're responsible for spreading the word? Does it ever get old?
No, it doesn't. And I have this conversation every now and then. I've been with Goose for over 7 years now. And my first day, I loved Bourbon County before I started at Goose Island. My first day there, I was like, I'm going to do my due diligence and try my best not to make this get old. So we hit it pretty hard, this time of the year, doing some tastings and interacting with fans. I love it. But come January 1st, no Bourbon County for this guy for a little while, trying to make it build up to be just as special as it should be. So
very nice. Well, let's before we get any further in talking to you, Mike, let's bring in Paul Cade and Jason Krasowski. They are two brewers at Goose Island, and they have you guys come very well talked about. I talked to some people. They're like, oh, these guys are great. They're best friends, and they created the classic cola stout, which is one of this year's variants. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Hey, good to be here.
Thanks for coming.
These guys are the talent right there. That's the talent.
There it is. Show off the bling. Show off the bling.
It is the beautiful red label on this year's variant. Well, let's start from there. But in a minute, I want to get a big overview of this year's variants, Mike, because as I was looking at the 8 this year, and Cody, I don't know, feel free to give your opinion as well. It seems like this year there was a big focus on the distilleries and the barrels themselves. And even the beers that had some adjuncts, which is just a fancy word for different ingredients, there weren't a lot of them in there. Even when we talked to Paul and Jason about the classic cola, there's there's not a lot of stuff in there. It's really good and it goes together great. But the focus seemed to be on the barrels. Am I off base or am I kind of on the beam on this one?
No, you are. And I'll let Jason Paul talk about their variant, which has many different ingredients in it, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
Over the past few years, we've really gravitated towards, some great partnerships we've come along with in the distilling industry with our friends down in Kentucky. We love Bourbon County. The base is just so phenomenal. A lot of us, when asked what's our favorite variant, we do say it's Bourbon County Original. And the fifth ingredient we don't talk about usually when making this beer is the barrels. And that can be an adjunct. And over the past few years, we've highlighted certain partnerships and certain barrels that you can't really get anywhere else and showcase what flavors come from them. And we've always thought they were special. And thankfully, our fans along the way have come with us and they like these distillery only variants. So there's a handful that we're showcasing barrels and wood and we still have fun with adjuncts and some ingredients and finding the right balance to that every year is tough. But this year we were just looking to outdo ourselves from last year. And I think we just did that.
Well, let's talk to Paul and Kate about this. Well, first of all, we know Mike has been with Goose for 7 years. How long have Paul? How long have you been with Goose?
We've actually both been for 5 years. We both came over
5 years,
in the summer of 16. Yeah.
Are you a package deal? Is this like Matt Stone and Trey Parker? Do you only create things together?
Yeah, exactly. We only sign contracts together.
Yeah.
So.
We both met. We met each other working at another brewery here in Chicago, where we both kind of got our chops like making beer. Shouts to Beguile, our friends over there who we love. So we both started over there, and Paul first came over to Goose, and then kind of wrangled me over there right around the fall of 2016 when I was just learning how to do my job, and my favorite baseball team was in the World Series, and it was a lot of high anxiety at that time. But it was our friendship kind of followed there, and I think we always we're trying and talking about making different variants of Bourbon County and like working on different ideas. And like, I don't know how familiar you are with the process of what it takes to like get a variant kind of made, the process we go through over there. But so we're always kind of working on stuff together, and we've come up with some good ideas. We've had some close calls. Paul was responsible for an amazing variant last year, but like this was the first time that after 5 years we were able to get one through. So it was kind of like a victory. We kind of feel like it was a victory for the team,
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, what is a close call in this context?
Well, I think like you go through different was it like 3 different rounds of like of kind of blind submissions for the variant. So any brewer can kind of come up with an idea. They can work with other people. And some people just do it on their own. And we always kind of liked working together. We just kind of being able to bounce those ideas off of each other. I think me and Paul like are kind of yin and yang, and we kind of complement each other's palates really well and kind of feed off of that. And honestly, when you're in the weeds of like deciding like what you want to put into like a Bourbon County and what you want to bring to that base beer, like you need another opinion, I feel like. And so we kind of always wanted to work together. So we're always kind of similar. Like if we do this, we kind of would really like to celebrate this together. So I think like, getting to see the Bourbon County coming out Friday, and I think everyone's gonna love it. I think it's kind of the end of a long journey that probably started like over a year ago. These started like as like little benchtop trials, 1 liter at a time, like mixing a little bit of this and a little bit of that to kind of.
I hate bringing it up, but you're right. 2022 starts first in January, where we start having these meetings. People take the base home. Anybody in the company can bring back a variant. I always get disqualified in round 1 for my crazy ideas, but these guys make it to round 2, round 3. At the end, it's tough. It comes down to like, which one do we want to represent? Which one pushes the boundaries? Some of these variants are great ideas. We just can't grow them. They're like, we can't get that many American bald eagle heads for your variants. So we're going to have to go with the other ones.
That makes sense. Now, Mike, we can't let it just slip by that you're disqualified for your crazy ideas. You got to give us an example of one of your crazy ideas.
What is that? What is that, Mike? Szechuan peppers. I remember there was one with like,
no. That I did not choose that. I will put my hat. I did not choose that one. I did one 2 years ago with pineapple. and pineapple and Bourbon County might not be the best mesh. I went straight up pineapple in it. I'm reformulating. Maybe you'll see it again this year. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
It's a work. Yeah, you got to work on
Put
that
some
one.
ham in there. It'd be a Hawaiian pizza Bourbon County stout.
Oh,
There it is. There it is.
boy, those two ingredients in bourbon just don't seem like they would mesh anywhere in the universe. Just
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
That'd be one hell of a night. I'll tell you that much.
So
Yeah.
is the competition, Mike, that Paul and Jason went through to get the classic cola Bourbon County Stout, except is that the same? Is it the same one that the proprietors comes out of, or are there two separate competitions?
No, it's the same one. Starts in January. I think this past year we started with about 45 different variants. Talk about one of the best meetings of the year, going blind tasting some of those. But yeah, it starts from there. Everybody gets feedback, and if you get to round 2, same thing. And then on to the final one, and then we get together and have the tough conversation. But I remember tasting Jason and Paul's in the first round last year, and it just said cola, classic cola, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, no, I'll come back to that one. And I did, and I took a sip, and by God, it tasted just like classic cola. And I didn't know what to think of it at first. Took another sip, and I was like, okay, that's in the middle for me. Made it to round 2, went straight for it. First one I tried in the second round.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's nice.
You guys tweaked a few things, and I was like, man, that's top 5 for me this year. That's something unique,
Wow.
and you hit it on the head, and the rest is history. So
Very nice.
How do you tweak a couple things? Because these things need to. It involves bourbon barrel aged stout. How do you slightly change something like that?
Well, luckily we're working with Bourbon County Stout base, so we already start with the base beer, and then for any of the adjunct beers, we're talking about post barrel aged additions to the beer. So Prop this year, as well as Cola and 14, are all ingredients that were introduced after the beer came out of barrels. But yeah, like Jason said, when we're mocking this up, we're talking about hundredths of grams difference of one ingredient versus another to try and pull out one versus another flavor. So it is really this tiny
bit. I think I remember we have like the scale we have in our lab is just like a feather, a wind will blink and blow up, and we were like, I think we were at a point when we were making our small batches where I think the nutmeg we were bench topping like half of a gram. So a very small amount. That's like how finite we were tweaking the recipe to try and just get just enough, but where we wanted it to be. So it's you take that little feedback that they give you, and some of it's very vague, not enough this or whatever, or not too cola, and you're kind of working with that and off your cola. Yeah, and so I think as we said before, the challenge with our variant was just kind of making it taste. We always kind of went back to a memory, it had to remind you of kind of having an old can of cola or something, kind of the way it smelled and the way it kind of felt in your mouth, and the refreshingness it was, having that memory. So it was we were kind of, I don't know, we were kind of just going through all that in our heads,
Well, we're talking about them. We should try one. Now, Mike, do you want? We're grateful to have. We're trying 3 tonight. Classic Cola, definitely. We also have Reserve 150 and the Blantons. So we'll talk. But is there one? Do you think we should talk about? Go in a different order? Where do you think we should start?
I think Jason's pulling it out right now. For the sake of building up to the grand finale of this tasting, let's do 150 Blantons and then end on the classic cola.
Okay,
there we go.
Explain to everybody the Reserve 150, because there's the Reserve 150 and the Reserve Blanton. So we have 2 reserves. That's not a separate program, but it's a special program inside the BCS program, right?
Yeah. So way back in 2008, we got some really special barrels from Buffalo Trace. They were 23 years old. Not going to name what brand it was, but we aged Bourbon County in it for 2 years. And in 2010, we released the very first single barrel Bourbon County variant. It was the 2010 Rare. And that year, we decided to release it on a special day, just that variant on Black Friday. And people showed up in a line, and we scratched our heads and said, maybe we should just release Bourbon County on Black Friday every year after that. So that was the start of Black Friday for us, as it's come to be. But in 2015, we did the second edition of Rare with Heaven Hill, 35-year-old barrels. And we got to thinking, maybe we can highlight just these barrels as a variant. So in 2017, we started the Reserve Series. Every year we've released at least one, or a couple of years we've had two, where we're just highlighting really special barrels from our friends, distilling friends down in Kentucky. Fast forward to last year, we did our first project with Old Forester. We did the birthday bourbon release. Hopefully you guys got that.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Just, I love that release. Before we even got it out of the barrel, they called us last year and they said, hey, we're doing this really special project. We're celebrating 150 years as a continuous distillery. We're doing this 150th anniversary release. It's the wood aged for 150 days before we made 150 barrels. It's going to sell for $150. They had like 8 or 9 different 150 references. I was like tipping my cap on the marketing side.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
like, would you want the? And we're like, yes, we'll take them. We'll take the barrels. So they sent us all 150 barrels, put the stout in it, let it age for a year. And we're releasing it this year, a year after they released that bourbon. That bourbon was tough to find. They actually broke it down into 3 50-barrel batches within the 150, and I never saw one on the shelf. I did have them send me one of the tubes, though, that it came in.
Here we go.
Heard it was phenomenal.
Just the tube?
I know where you work, Mike. I know where you work.
Yeah, just the tube, guys. Don't come over to Bar Smith later tonight. But no, they put it in the tubes, told the story. We took it out, blended all those barrels together, and we released 150th anniversary stout this year. The packaging, it's very important to us to highlight just 150-year history of being a distillery. I mean, we're an old brewery. We're 34 years old. Hopefully get to 150, but to highlight, tell their stories, take a little notch out of their book was fun. But this beer, talk about a once-in-a-lifetime expression. Going back to the Old Forester, and I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, Jason.
No.
Paul, but this one for me, a lot of fruit expressions in it. I think it's the yeast strain that Old Forester uses with all their bourbons that really near and dear to my heart. That fruit nuance comes out on the nose, and when you take a sip, this bourbon was pretty hot. This one came out at 15.6% ABV.
Yeah, that's crazy high. Even for BCS, that's high.
Yeah, so it's got a little bit of sharpness there, and it's got a dry finish. Which, if you compare this, we'll drink the Blantons next, or original. That has a sweet lingering finish. This one has like a drier stop to it, which is pretty unique and phenomenal in its own way.
Yeah, I haven't had this one in a few weeks, and I was just thinking, Mike, like you smell it, and it just smells very fruity. It has a lot of like fruit expression, which I think is like so much fun for me in Bourbon County in general. Just as like the beer, like I loved it, before I ever worked for Goose, and like so I think it's so fun is that this beer is so indicative of a time and a place, whether it be using a special barrel or just like a really cold Chicago winter and a really hot one. Like every year, the base beer itself like tastes a little different. Like it depends what you're getting. And I like, 5 years here, and even before that, I think now like when we're having like a really cold winter or a really hot summer, I'm like, this is good for the barrels. This is pushing and pulling on the beer. And then when like the fun part, I think for like seeing this beer like in different barrels is just seeing like it's true beer nerdery really at its finest. You're getting to see like what this barrel specifically is doing for the same beer. It's the same beer. And so it's like, it's really fun to sip this and to see how dry it finishes and then to smell the fruitiness in it. And like, that's the barrel, man. That's what it's doing,
What I like is there's definitely the warmth of the bourbon, but it doesn't take over. It just really enhances it. And it does. This one to me does taste like you could be sitting around with a bourbon, but it still has that chocolate and kind of the coconut and vanilla that you always get in the in the original BCS. So it all goes together perfect.
Very good. Yeah.
It reminds me of the last year, the anniversary stout, I think it was. What I got my hands on that before Brian somehow, and I described it to him as I was like, I don't even know, like it doesn't taste like anything. It's just a really good beer.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of getting from this is it's just I can't really use good smart words to describe like even what's in this. It's just a really good beer. I'm drinking it and I'm like, this is, it's got all of what you're talking about, but it's just a pure flavor that I'm digging.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I feel like, this is a bit of pulling back the curtain, but sometimes I feel like we use this vocabulary just to be able to talk to each other about this stuff. But you're right, like you can't put this into words. You can't read about Bourbon County and say like, oh, I understand it completely. You really do have to drink it. It's a really unique thing.
Well, and this, Mike, going back to what you said about the marketing, the packaging on this one, and as you mentioned, we'll talk about the packaging on the Blantons too, is important. The bottle stays the same, the Goose Island signature bottle for the BCS, but everything outside, just you look at it and you go, well, this is a pretty big deal right here, this bottle.
Yeah, it's something we changed this up in 2015 and really, an embossed, 16.9 bottle that sticks out, pays homage to like maybe 1920 Prohibition whiskey bottles. I really liked that era of whiskey, bottle influences and whatnot. Sticks out, and every year the label colors change. For us to call out the Old Forester partnership right on the label and put their logo on it. Speaks volumes because they entrust us with their brand, their storytelling, and to come out with a product that's up to their standards. It is a lot to take on every year, but we have the best brewing team in the world. We have one of the 6 wonders of the world with the biggest beer barrel aging facility that I can think of or ever been to. So it's great, it's packaging, but it tells the story. 150 years for them, many years for us, and these worlds coming together, bourbon and beer. Who would have thought, we would have crossed over, back in '92 when Greg did the first batch of this and asked for some used bourbon barrels and put a stout in it for the first time in history. So.
Well, Paul and Jason, so just because I liked your point that sometimes we use this terminology, and some people don't know any of the terminology. What did you mean, for those who don't know, when the weather changes and the stout, the Bourbon County stout that starts is all the same, it's in these barrels. What happens in like layman's terms? Because you have a lab where you're doing a 1/4 gram of nutmeg, so you know all this stuff. But for people who just go, like Cody said, this is just really good. How does the weather, how does the temperature in the barrel house, how does all that affect what comes out?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first, it does start with the base beer, which is this base stout we call Bourbon County, but it really isn't Bourbon County until it comes out of the barrel. But this base stout is, we say, incredibly big, right? It's got a ton of sugar. All that sugar comes from grain. So it's this intense process all the way through, starting from a lot of grain that we have to use in the brew house. It requires a ton of fermentation, a ton of yeast. It's just this really intense process all the way through. But finally, once we get it in the barrel, it stays in the barrel in our barrel house in Chicago for a year. And obviously our temperatures, like Jason was saying, fluctuate quite a bit. And yeah, I do sit in my un-air conditioned house during the summer and think, well, at least this is good for one thing. Which, as these are oak barrels that are beautifully made by these distilleries, and they respirate, they breathe as the temperature changes. The pores in the wood contract and inflate, and they pull the beer that we put into these barrels into the wood. And these are charred barrels, so the interior of them have this beautiful char that gives the color to bourbon. But then beyond that, there are layers of different levels of heat that this wood has seen during that charring process. And that gives you all these different flavors. So as the beer goes in and out and in and out during these temperature fluctuations, you're pulling in all of these really complex flavors.
And it's kind of like it's similar to, I mean, it's basically doing the same thing, right? That it's doing for the whiskey and turning it into bourbon, right? Like the temperature, right? And like, I think, some of the barrels we got, and like they're pulling from different parts of the warehouse, the middle, the bottom, the top floor and stuff, right? Because it's all like different temperatures where it's at. And man, you get some of that too, definitely still, like even in our barrel warehouse, like just like we'll have fun little barrels that are tucked off into a corner somewhere that will kind of like, I don't say get lost, but like we'll find, and you get weird things, man.
Get lost.
Yeah. And just pushing
in the trunk of your car.
Yeah.
And seeing what it does, man. Seeing what it does to be in an untemperature controlled environment is like such a cool thing, like over time.
And that's where really like these sorts of projects started out, when the brewers started to notice that, oh man, we got this amazing bourbon barrel in, and when we tasted the beer that came out of it, it's so unique, it's so different. And Mike and the whole team has done such a good job to be able to source enough barrels so that we can start packaging these things in their kind of individual, like on their own.
Yeah, because I think one of the fun things to do, right, is like rarely do we change anything about like the actual base beer. It's always the same beer, and so like your difference being like time, temperature, what Mother Nature gives us, and then like the different barrels we get to kind of use, in these instances, which I think is like. It's like really fun. So I think when we're doing more and more of this, I think it's really cool for us, even as brewers, man. I mean, we're still like 5 years in and haven't really lost the awe of when we find like a new barrel or something fun and cool like that, or maybe a lost double barrel in the back of the warehouse, and we're drinking it on the brewer's tap deck, like just like fun things like that we get to see like what it does to it. It's like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And like you said, dude.
Is there ever a worry that when, the consistency of the original BCS is you guys are always shooting for the same thing with the original or the base stout? Is there ever a worry that there's going to be, or has a barrel ever gone bad on you? Like where you try something, you put it in the barrel like every other, came from the same distiller, but for some reason, does a stout not take the flavor, or can something go wrong in there, or is there always? Does it always work out?
I'd like to kill two birds with one stone on that question. We got asked the Goose Island men how they feel about day drinking. Let me answer that in a roundabout way. These guys try every barrel before it's processed at the end of the year, and not every single person, every single barrel, but the team goes through and they're sampling the barrels, and if anything is off, they're set to the side, and we'll see what's going on there. So yes, there is some day drinking going on, but it's part of the job and it's only samples. But yeah, we are at the utmost quality is the first thing.
I wasn't suggesting that it gets sold bad, but I'm wondering if the wood sometimes the wood just reacts badly, where it surprises you guys too, and you're like, oh well, the same distillery sent us 5 barrels, let's say, and 4 barrels, exactly what we thought was going to happen happened, and for some reason there's something about this wood. So there's got to be some sort of science behind that, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think luckily when we're dealing with bourbon barrels, bourbon is required to be a one-time use spirit, so they're really high quality barrels. So I can't even think of a time when a bourbon barrel would have. Yeah, I mean, like, so credit to all of our friends who work at the barrel warehouse who are extracting and filling our barrels. Like, and we both have done work there, and so those barrels, like, you shine a flashlight when they come in before you fill them, and there's usually like a good amount of like leftover bourbon in there, and they're usually pretty wet. And so the only time I can think a barrel would go bad would mostly be if it doesn't hold liquid, right? That would be like the only time it doesn't. Yeah, but I can't personally remember of a time where we pulled something out of a barrel and went, not so great.
Yeah, it's the more you talk about the effects of the barrels, I'm just it all seems to the end product is always great. I'm wondering if in the Megget there's like that's just weird, but let's forget about that.
We do
we've done
push
some
the
experiments with
limits.
different barrels before, like outside
Yeah.
the urban.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm.
Yeah, we've done that. And
where
some
there's
that-
barrels that just don't. Yeah, it's like this barrel just.
Right.
It's not going to work for whatever reason.
There are barrels. We've gotten some tequila barrels in for other projects and some rum barrels in for other projects as well. And those barrels are far less consistent. And usually the problem is that they don't hold liquid.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, they just don't taste that good. Too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we are really blessed that bourbon is just we're getting these amazing barrels.
Yeah.
So the quality is really good. But yeah, there are barrels out there that are pretty beat up. And,
Dog's very excited about this question.
Yeah.
Dog enjoys barrel technology. Before we move on to the Blantons, the reserve Blantons, Mike, since the this whole thing is based around barrels, in '92 it was probably very easy to get barrels. Probably not as easy now since everybody in the world is doing a barrel age program. I mean, Goose has the edge because you've been doing it longer. But is it harder to find barrels? Is there a shortage of these barrels?
Yeah, back in '92, we Greg Hall asked for 6 from Booker at Jim Beam, and he got 6 pretty easy. Back in the '90s, my dad told me that you could go to like Home Depot and Menards, and they'd cut used bourbon barrels in half and sell them for $20 as planters.
We had one in my backyard. Yeah.
Yeah. But over the years, thankfully the bourbon industry has grown tremendously, and it's on fire right now. A lot of, there's bourbon brokers, and their job is or bourbon barrel brokers, their job is to take these barrels and find a home for it. And like, Paul was saying, they're one use. You can't call it bourbon if you use the same barrel twice. So they need to find a different home. A lot of them go over to Ireland and Scotland for Scotch and Irish whiskeys. So they're growing, they're wanting barrels. We're growing, we want barrels. Other breweries are starting barrel age programs. They want barrels. So it's getting a little bit tougher now, but thankfully a lot of the bigger players in the bourbon industry are trying to make more bourbon, and we're all fighting for the what's left over. And like I said, thankfully we have some really great friends that they call us every now and then and say we have some special barrels, and we hate to have them go for a planter, which you have to highlight them.
All right, shall we move on to another in the reserve series? And this is another bourbon that is, everybody, if you're a bourbon person, everybody wants Blantons. You got to have the round bottle with the little horse on top, and you got to be ready to go. So how did the partnership between Goose and Blanton's come about?
Well, this was a few years in the making. It took about 7 no's, 14 maybes, and finally, okay, let's give it a shot. But back in 2015, I went to Chicago Whiskey Fest with some of the other brewers, and we actually had a booth pouring the only beer at a whiskey fest, Bourbon County Stout. Sure. And a couple of us went over to the Bland's booth, and I sheepishly asked, what's the deal with Bland's? I see it on the shelf. What's the story? And befriended the team, and they poured me and some of the other brewers some bourbon. I gave them some BCS, and they told me the story of Blanton's. Elmer T. Lee, master distiller at what is now Buffalo Trace in the 80s, wanted to highlight his friend who he took the master distiller partnership job over from, Colonel Blanton, who was known back in the 1900s for going in the rick houses, picking the best tasting bourbon barrels, just like Jason and Paul were talking about, the ones that tasted a little bit better than everyone else. They were called honey barrels. Okay. And he'd bring them up to his house, and friends, family, politicians would come over, and he'd be like, here, try my single barrel. It's the best one in the rick house. So Elmer Teeley wanted to make a product out of that, the first ever single barrel bourbon, and Bland's was born back in 1984. So they're telling me this story, and I'm just getting all excited. I was like, we're the first brewery to age a stout in a used bourbon barrel. Like, this just makes sense. We should work together. And they were like, all right, well, we know who you are now.
Slow your roll.
Yeah. So over the next few years, we would see each other at Whiskey Fest. We'd go out for drinks and became friends that just loved talking bourbon and beer and whiskey. And thankfully, this reserve program picked up some steam over the last few years. And it wasn't until 2018 we asked like, hey, I think now's the time to work on a project together, and they agreed, and they sent us some barrels, and we aged Bourbon County in it for a year and a half, 18 months. So a little bit longer than the average, a little bit longer than the 150 that we just had, and what you guys are about to taste, I think, is something truly special. And this is what's fun. We're going to talk about this right now. Hopefully have some of that 150 left over. You have original next to it, and you can go back and forth between them all, and you're going to get a little bit different nuances out of them that just make that release a little bit, unique on its own.
Again,
the
warmth
good year to drink Bourbon County Stout.
Yes, it definitely is.
Wow.
The warmth of the bourbon comes through. There's a little more, like, I get a little more baking spice kind of in the blend.
That's a good word. That's a good word.
Yeah. Jason excited.
Yeah.
Jason, are you a baking spice guy? Is that your?
I like that. I like that word when we talk about beer. Yeah, I think that's definitely too, right? I mean, I've had these beers before, but it's been a minute, and like, so coming back to them tonight, I feel like on a Tuesday night here, I'm just like, oh man, it's popping. Like it's tasting this tastes like a different beer than the one we just had. Like truly,
it definitely does.
Yeah.
It's like this to me just has like milk, chocolate, fudge, a little bit thicker mouth feel. Got a sweet finish,
just said to Paul,
grind finish. And I don't know how, like, there's like a little bit of maple syrup kind of in there, like maple.
Yeah.
It's
I think
the 150 had the chocolate taste, but Mike, you're right. This one, it's more of a fudgy. It's not like when we say that, if people haven't had it, it's not cloyingly sweet like you're eating a piece of fudge, but you taste it and you feel it a little differently in your mouth than you did the 150.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys are all hitting on the head. Like a lot more of those sweet aromatics. Whether you're saying baking spice, whether you're saying fudge, whether you're saying maple syrup, it's all kind of in that family of these sweet aromatics that and this viscosity that's really nice.
Yeah.
I've got my desktop countertop in front of me is like 2 feet away from me, and both of these bottles, the second I open them up, it's just like boom. I can like the scent just really hits you, and the second I open it, I was just like, all right, let's get this, let's get this in my system.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, it goes back to what you mentioned earlier about that anniversary last year, which was Buffalo Trace working with their 12-year-old Weller barrels. We aged it for 2 years, and I think there's a couple similarities between that one and this one that I think you were pointing out at. It's just so smooth. It drinks like super smooth, really nice mouthfeel. It's like silky. I think carried over to this one this year, which is a good call out. It's this one's a fun one, and you go back to the 150. It's like you get different nuances between the two. That's why it's fun if you can to drink these side by side.
And this one comes in just at a little lower at the ABV than the 150. This is 15.4 as opposed to 15.6, which means you got to share these
poolside summer grilling after you mow the lawn.
Yes, definitely. All right, let me ask you guys this, because I love these. My wife, she doesn't like big beers. So I can't drink I could drink an entire bottle, but then the day is I can't really do anything else. Right. Can I put a stopper in this, and can it stay in the refrigerator for a day or two so I can finish it off? Or there's Mike with his stopper.
Oh, wait, what is that you got there, Mike? Is that what I have here? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I think I have one. You can, it's like Amazon, right? The little slide ones that have like a rubber seal on the top of them. That slide on top. I had a friend give me a couple of them, and that'll buy you a couple of days, man.
Okay.
I will vouch for that.
I will too.
I don't think it'll buy you a week, but like it'll buy you the Friday.
Oh, it won't take me a week.
Yeah. But no, that has saved me many a night on after my wife goes to bed and I'm watching a movie and I see the last bit off for this next night. Yeah.
We're really lucky with this beer because the same aging concerns that we have with most beers don't apply to this, and that's there are oxidation effects that in like a regular beer will make it just taste terrible, and in this beer, lucky for us, sometimes it'll change things, and sometimes it can change things and make them cooler, make them more interesting. That's why for a lot of these beers, we say that you can age them to up to a year or 5 years or something like that, because these beers do change and evolve, and so even in the fridge over a couple of nights should be.
But they're ready to drink right now on Black Friday. When people pick these up, they're ready to go. You don't have to cellar them. You don't have to be precious about them. Pop them open and start enjoying them.
Yeah, it's always fun. I mean, you can hang on to them, whatever. But we can only speak for like the variant we made or whatever. But I mean, mostly like, for my friends in the brewery, when we when they come up with a prop or any variant, I mean, we're designing it for you to drink fresh. Now, I think it's going to taste great in 5 years or whatever. But
it's going to ebb and flow.
I'm making a beer for you to buy this beer and like you to come home and you can crack it and share it with your friends or whoever. Perfect. That's my idea behind when we make.
It's fun every year though, with original in particular, is drinking it next to one that was released last year, 2 or 3 years from that, and you're not going to get like fresh examples, but you'll get a little bit of differences year to year on what's changed and what was new on that, and hopefully you can take some good notes and compare and long story short, enjoy it and share it with friends and have a good time.
Now go ahead, Cody.
Brian and I cracked open a 2015 or a 2014 last month that I kind of had hanging out. But that brings me to a question. It's good right now. Like you take it home, you open it right now. But there's really no way for anybody to like know how well how great it'll taste in 1 year versus 2 versus 3 versus 4, right? Or do you have some way of kind of, projecting into the future for that?
I think it's to each their own. To me, sometimes original comes off in previous years, not so much anymore. It came off a little boozy, a little hot. So I like to let mine even sit for a couple months and it kind of settled down, like in my mind. But some people, love it fresh. They don't want to age it. Some people are like, I like it 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever. That's my sweet spot. It's to each their own, is what I tell everybody. Honestly, the lab once told me 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days is probably the perfect time.
Wow.
I got to get one dad joke in there.
Very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Very nice.
We talked about the go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say we've tried them. Like we'll do like little vertical runs. I think it was a couple years ago. We had the lab. They opened up like it was like a bottle from every year up until the current, and so you kind of get to see the progression. And like it really is kind of to each his own. I mean, some people really like some of the other. There was a bunch of us sitting around a table and just kind of tasting and talking about it. And I mean, some people liked a 6-7 year old bottle. Some people found that bottle to not taste very good and liked it fresher. And it's like so just like personal, like what you want out of that. What do you want it to taste like? I don't know, and like, I think it sounds really cheesy, but I think sometimes Bourbon County, for me, this beer is a little indicative of a time and a place. So it's just kind of like who you're with and who you're around, right? I mean, like beer is better with people you care about and sharing it. So sometimes it's just like that 5-year-old bottle that you might open by yourself on a Tuesday doesn't taste as good as a Saturday night when you're like hanging out with friends. I really feel like sometimes beer is just like indicative of some of those things.
You always get me, Jason. Damn it.
Yeah, the three of you, I hope you realize that everybody listening and watching is like, they have the coolest job in the world. This could not possibly.
I think there was someone in the chat that said that, I think it was Barbara was up there that said she doesn't even drink, but she listen to us talk. I'm like, do not come to where we work because this is what we do. Day and night they talk.
All about it. So the packaging for the Old Forester was cool. The packaging for this Reserve Blanton's cool, and then a little bit extra cool thrown in there around the rim of that bottle.
Man, we asked for everything with the team. We really wanted to highlight what they did with the bottle. I mean, the barrel shaped bottle we couldn't do, so we did the best with the barrel shaped box on the outside. With the horse racing topper, man, they allowed us to use that on the bottle, and
that's phenomenal.
Velvet bag. We got to co-brand it and make a special one for it, and tell the story. But Yeah, every bottle is going to have a bag and a little mini stopper. Now, these mini stoppers aren't meant for actually, saving the beer like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
It's just one they make on they make these little 500 milliliter guys every now and again, or 50 milliliter guys. So it sits on top for like a picture, like little trophy or whatnot. But for us to tell that story once again, the brand trusting us to bring it all the way through on our end. Gets beer fans that might not know of Bland's excited, gets Bland's fans excited
Yep.
about beer that they might not know of. And yeah, it's really cool. I can't wait for people to grab a bottle of this and tell the stories like we are and have new ones to share. But yeah, this one's unique. I don't think we'll be able to top this one.
No, it is very, very cool. And these ones get out early on Black Friday because they're all the variants are going to go. I have a feeling these two, the 150 and the Blantons, are going to go quick. Adam has a question in the chat. He wants to know when, and this would be for Paul and Jason, I guess. And Mike probably knows this too. When you add the post barrel ingredients, like when you're, what you saying? Mike didn't know. When you add, like when you guys were taking the BCS out of the barrel and you were adding your ingredients, is every barrel the same, or do you need to tweak the ingredients for each barrel? So like when you were doing classic cola, you took the first barrel, once you had your recipe all set, you put it in the one barrel and yep, tastes perfect. Do the slight variations in the barrels, do you have to tweak it for each barrel, or is it one blanket recipe that goes for the whole run?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we make Bourbon County Stout, we make it in a larger batch, obviously larger than one bourbon barrel,
sure,
in these large fermentation tanks. And actually, at the other end of the spectrum, we turn those tanks into blending tanks. So we extract all of our all the bourbon barrels that are going to go into this cola into one big larger tank. Fermentation tank. Okay. And so then we taste that blend on its own.
Yeah.
Because when Jason and I were building this recipe, we were using the only beer we had available, which was last year's Bourbon County. So we really did have to kind of take everything we've learned over the last year, because we started in January of 2020 building this recipe. And we took everything that we've learned and then we had to reapply it to something brand new, which was this 2021 beer, which is different than 2020. We were talking about, the differences in years, the differences in barrels. So we do have to change it, but not barrel to barrel, just kind of this one-time changeover for what we get out of the blend of barrels.
Yeah.
Mike, I want to build a little more suspense before we get to Paul and Jason's creation. So we've covered the Reserve 150. We've covered the Reserve Blantons. You want to give a quick highlight of the other ones, and then we will hit the classic cola, and the guys can share their story of innovation and deliciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one more in the Reserve series this year. It's a double barrel release. We've only done one double barrel package release. One time 2 years ago, 2019, with our friends at Heaven Hill. It was only at our tap room and brew pub. 1 year in Elijah Craig small batch barrels, took the beer out, put them in freshly dumped Elijah Craig 12-year-old barrel proof barrels. People went crazy for that. We were waiting for the opportunity to do another project, a little bit bigger scale to share with people. This year's your chance to do that. Double barrel this year, 1 year in Elijah Craig small batch, took it out. Last year, Elijah Craig released their toasted barrel Elijah Craig toasted barrel finish. And we got those barrels first time they emptied them, put it in there for a year and aged. That one's going to be just as limited as the Blantons and the 150, but phenomenal. Original we talked about. We have another wood variant, cherry wood. Just once again, going down the road of just what wood can do to this beer. We got some cherry wood honeycomb chips in and circulated the beer through that through a couple days. And holy cow, talk about a head turner at the end of the day. Just the fruit notes, the butterscotch notes that came through. It's got a dry and finish too. That one's phenomenal. Look out for that. Classic cola we're going to go to, and then I think the final one we have is 14 stout. This one's special every year. We do a proprietor stout every year.
Right.
That's Chicago only. This year, Ice Cream, Emily Cosmel came up with it again. It's got a good humor strawberry shortcake.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how jealous are you guys of Emily? I mean, this is her third.
I just brought it up.
Yeah, I work with Emily.
One.
We both work on the brew deck, and Emily is the GOAT. So it is not jealousy; it is just bowing.
Admiration.
It is mostly just bowing and reverence.
Admiration.
Yeah, Emily. I'll pull back the curtain and say Emily was like 6 or 7 months pregnant or something when she created that variant. And she is so good at her job that she was mostly creating those flavor recipes, and then she was not drinking them herself, she was feeding them to her husband, which speaks to how good their relationship is. And he was like, tell her a little more. Yeah, it was like.
So does she get barrel-shaped rings or anything for every time she gets
she
a
should. Mike should get to work on that tomorrow morning.
I will. She's gonna have a big old chain, that she gets.
Like a Flava Flav barrel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Flavor
Her neck.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she is. She is well revered and respected. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, but that proprietor Chicago, like I was saying, this year with the 14 stout, very cool project. We looked back and all of our beers. People always ask the brewers, when are you bringing this variant back? When are you going to brew this prop again and share with more people? Well, this is your year. We looked back, 2014 prop. We decided to revisit that recipe, make a little bit bigger batch so we can share with our friends outside of Chicago. That one has cinnamon cassia bark, cocoa nibs, and panela sugar in it, and that one's phenomenal. So excited to bring that and share with more people. So just a stellar lineup. We have the barrel variants, we have the adjunct ingredients. We're going to have some head turners in there. A lot of fun. But one of the ones I'm most excited about this year is what we're going to get into right now and taste with you guys.
We've made you wait until the end because this is, one, it's fun to talk to you guys about all the stuff and the whole thing, the whole process. And real quick, for people who they've heard brewers before, and we've talked to brewers before, and we talked to you guys about BCS every year. Is creating this harder than creating the rest of the portfolio that you guys work on the rest of the year? Is Bourbon County Stout, I mean, it's premium. Everybody's excited for it. From the behind the scenes part, is it harder for you as brewers to make this?
I think it's an easy yes for me.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll pull back the curtain. I work on the brew deck, and Paul is he's in R&D now, but he was originally, when we started at Goose, Paul was in the cellar. So I was on the hot side, Paul was on the cold side. And so I start with the grain, right? Raw grain, get it in there, get wort to a fermenter, and Paul makes sure it gets fermented right and stuff. And from there, it gets passed on. And I think one of the things that makes me the most proud about Bourbon County, honestly, is that it's 1,000 hands that have to touch this beer before it gets to you, right? It's It's the brewers, it's the people coming up, it's the marketing team working together, it's creating the recipe, it's making it, aging it, getting it into a barrel, storing it for a year, pulling it out of a barrel, getting it out. It's our phenomenal team of maintenance that has to keep everything working. It's everybody in packaging, everybody on the bottling line and canning line, everybody has to all come together before this beer gets to this glorious moment. And so it's Bourbon County is one of the most labor-intensive things that I, at 45 years old, have ever been a part of, making. But it is it's one of the most rewarding things because, to see people just kind of enjoy it. And I'm a beer nerd. I mean, outside of being a brewer, I love drinking beer. And so, to see something that you work so hard on, on Black Friday come around and, I mean, I think everyone's going to love our cola, but at the end of the day, I mean, I like our cola. I think it tastes really good. And that's kind of its reward, it's just kind of coming all the hands that have to come through. I think it's a hard beer to make and it takes a long time, and storing a beer for a year, it's a lot of work. I'm sorry, this is a long-winded answer.
That's all right.
So the long and short is, it takes a lot of work, guys.
It takes a lot of work.
Well,
I saved the most special glass for your variant. All right. So you told us about the competition, and the levels, and you guys had to go through 3, and Mike washed out at 1 because he put pickle juice and ham hocks in one, and I don't know what it was, but it didn't sound appetizing. And then so you get to the end, and what do they say to you? And then how does it feel? Then you can go into telling us how you came up with the recipe, but it's got to be I can only imagine the competition and the amount of unbelievable ideas that come in in January for the first trial. At the end of it, they say, "Hey, Paul, Jason, we're making yours this year."
Yeah. I'll tell you the story of when.
Yeah.
I got the call.
Yeah.
From Mike Siegel, the innovation manager, and so that was great. And I asked him if I could tell Jason. So I called Jason.
I was at home,
and I said, Jason, I got some bad news.
Yep.
We have a lot of hard work ahead of us.
Yeah.
Because we just.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
And I think that speaks to both questions. It was so exciting, and Jason. I mean, it's great to do with a friend, but it is a ton of work. It isn't just they picked our thing and then it's going to get made. We're the ones who
got to make it.
Yeah. So, you're right. There was a ton of excitement, but it was also a lot of nervous excitement. We're like, we made this much really, really great beer.
Yeah.
Now we have to make
a lot more. Yeah.
So we knew we were in for it.
Yeah.
And we also, this year we challenged ourselves, and I think one of the ideas of making this beer was we wanted to challenge ourselves to use a whole lot of ingredients, not to taste like the ingredients, but to taste like something else familiar. Okay. So that's cola. And we didn't, this speaks to how special Bourbon County is too. We didn't use cola flavors. We didn't use, what they would use in modern day colas. We used raw ingredients. We used coriander. We used orange peel. We used whole nutmegs that we hand cracked. So it is this crazy.
Keep going. Go through all the ingredients right now.
You want to hear all that?
Yeah, let's hear them.
Back and forth.
You got your orange peel, your lime peel, your vanilla, coriander, cinnamon, vanilla.
You already said vanilla. Nutmeg.
Yeah.
Orange juice, lime juice. Like right now, they would use some sort of like citric acid or phosphoric acid. But we're like, no, we're going to go back to use this classic, this real ingredient, lime juice. That's then I think we listed them all. I think
that was 9.
Orange zest, lemon zest.
They say nutmeg, right? And in there, a little nutmeg in there.
We can do this better.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
So, let me ask you this: did you go? So you have this idea, you want to do a classic cola. Did you have to go back and like reverse engineer some old colas? Where did you?
Good question.
Where'd you get your list of ingredients? How did you come up with your list?
Yeah, there's a lot of digging online, and Pendleton, this guy, I forget his first name, Pendleton in the late 1800s was the guy who came up with the series of ingredients that later became Coca-Cola, I think.
Okay.
And his notebooks are available online, so you can Google his notebooks. So the list of ingredients are well-ish known, I think, and so we pulled from those notebooks and started. We used our own ratios though, because when we're talking about aging in beer, we were using whole ingredients. We coriander and orange peel. When you're talking about that, it's very different than anything else that had been done before. So we kind of started from scratch. Once we had the list, the ratios, the aging times, all of that that was all of our hard work that we had to figure out.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. I want this bottle to last forever.
Yeah.
It's next level. This is next level. This is truly next level. I did not expect this. Cheers to you guys. Like this is
thank you.
And that's not
it's
not
delicious.
just because I've had 2 sniffers of Bourbon County already. I know you're thinking, no, this is
I like the fact that you guys are trying this right now after having this. I actually kind of like the fact you did this kind of last, because I think one of the tasting notes we kind of kept coming back to, like when we were thinking about all right, hey, so if you drink a cola, like, what does that feel like when you're drinking that, And like we kind of kept coming back to the word kind of refreshing, right? So the challenge was kind of to try and take like this big beer and make it kind of taste a little refreshing. So like balancing the sweetness with a little acidity and like a little tartness and stuff. And so we learned so much by having to blend the different ingredients we use to like make this beer kind of like come in and kind of like give you like this little like, oh, it's a little bit zesty, it's a little bit limey, and kind of taste like you're not quite drinking a like 14% beer. Like that was kind of the choice. But I think it was so much fun because when we did the benchtop trials all the way up to when we were blending our final tanks that were going to get packaged, when we were like blending the different ingredients, we would like, when you're doing this, you're blending these ingredients for every ingredient has a different amount of hours that it needs. Okay. And so you're quite literally coming down to a fermenter like every 15, 20 minutes. You're setting your watch and you're like, I'll meet you here in 20 minutes. And you're coming back down, pouring like 1 or 2 ounces in a little cup, swirling it, and you're smelling it and tasting it. And you're going, 15 more minutes, 5 more minutes, come back. And then when we had our first aha moment, Paul had tasted it a few minutes before I came into work. And then I think one of them has this on video, and like, I come up to the fermenter and I'm just like kind of coming in for the day and lollygagging. I got like a cup of coffee in the other hand, and he's like, I'll taste the fermenter, and I pour it in the glass and I'm just sniffing, doing my normal routine. I'm smelling, and then I smell and I go, I turn around and I look, and I go, I think we got it. And he goes, we got it. And we both like had this moment of like, we did it. Like we got it right to where we felt we were really
Stop
happy.
Everything now.
Yeah, we're like, cut it.
Bottle it right this second.
That's the big. I gotta say, what sets this apart for me from some of the different Bourbon County stouts is it hits a different part of your palate. Like, you have different taste receptors in the middle of your tongue, on the sides, down your throat, things like that. Like this, I take a sip and I just want it to sit in my mouth for like 5 minutes before swallowing it. Yeah. So that sets it apart from the other Bourbon County stouts. It hits differently, but it's still distinctly Bourbon County stout. And I'm in love with this.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I think it was balanced, man. I think we were just trying to find balance. We wanted to bring that classic like cola flavor, but we also like wanted you to also know like this is Bourbon County stout. Yep. And I think
got that undertone the whole time.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. And that was really, it sounds cheesy, man, but that was like the challenge of us doing it. That was the fun in us doing it. This is what we do for a living, that we chose this life. Like we love it. And so like, and then that was the fun adventure. And that was like, I think the challenge we set out for ourselves. And like, yeah, so it's cool. I'm glad to hear you like it.
You guys sound like you're in the mafia. This is the life we chose. But
this is the life we chose. Don't disrespect the family, Mike.
Never. I think Paul used the term viscosity earlier, and that's one of the big differences in the classic cola. It doesn't have, and I'm using the wrong terms. You guys can tell me what I'm. It's not as viscous. You don't get that like in the Blantons. We had that fudge feel. Mm-hmm. You don't get that. You get. I know effervescence is the wrong thing because it's not more bubbly, but it is lighter. It has that easy drinking.
Man, you're one of the first people we've gotten to talk to. I honestly outside the walls of the brewery about this beer. So like, you're like,
we don't let them out in the wild.
I wouldn't let them out either.
Yeah, this is great.
Keep them caged in, Mike.
Look at this smile right here. Look at this smile. Making it like that's
right on. And again, you're drinking a Coke or a cola, and that's a sensation you get. It's refreshing. It's easy to drink. It's not this thick thing, and we really had to balance that. And the lime juice and the orange juice that was their big contribution.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it really cut through some of the sweetness? It's a sweet beer, but it drinks a lot lighter just because of the addition of some of the acidity from the citrus.
Yeah, I'll tell this little story real quick. So we have like our little like our, I don't know what you want to call these, but like little tastings, right? So like everybody we have all the variants lined up, and like everybody from sales and receiving and packaging, everybody gets to come, right? Now this is when everybody gets to taste everything for the entire year. Like, be proud of this moment, And so me and Paul were standing in front of our little barrel, and we had like two or three cases of the cola. and people were coming up and they're trying everyone. They're coming up and but by the end of that, I don't know if Mike knows, but the end of that meeting, they had drank all of our cola more than anybody else because they're like, it's so refreshing. It tastes so good. I just want to sip more of it. And we're like, well, I think we did our jobs here. So we felt pretty good about that. So like, it's interesting. This is still a big beer. It's still a 14% beer. But I think, but it'll get you. It'll get you.
Well, it's a little sneakier than some of the others. Like with the 150 and the Blantons, they're delicious. And you taste the bourbon and you get all that and you realize these are big high alcohol beers. This one, you look at it, you go, I know it's Bourbon County Stout. I know it's going to be, but then you taste it and go, oh, it's probably not as
right.
No. And then, a couple snifters later, you're lying on the floor going, what happened? It was just a cola.
What happened?
Right, what, like cola. I mean, right there, cola. That's a false sense of security. No one associates cola with a 14% beer. Knock them on their butt,
This is caffeine free, guys. I'm sorry. It's caffeine free.
I think it does have a little bit of a whiskey cola drink connection.
Yes.
With it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go out on a limb. I get made fun of so much when I ask this next question, but why not? Any White Russian fans? You guys drink White Russian?
Oh, I love me.
Only when I'm watching The Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So there's another drink called Colorado Bulldog is what I was learned from it. Do you guys know about this? You pour a little bit of Coca-Cola in your White Russian. For whatever reason, it makes it turn like chocolate milky. Chocolate. I'm making up my own words. Chocolate milk kind of finish to it. And that's what this reminds me of too. So next time you're watching The Big Lebowski with a Caucasian little soda, and you'll get what I'm saying.
Oh, interesting. I'm gonna try that, Mike, because like when we were originally designing this, we were talking about how we wanted to approach it. Paul was like, vintage cola, like those memories. And one of my inspirations when we were kind of mixing this up was like in my 20s and honestly in my 30s, I drank a lot of whiskey and Coke. That was like my mixed drink when I was out at the bar or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were mixing this up, that was kind of like in the back of my mind, the little kind of flavor profile I was mixing around. Like, oh, this kind of reminds me of that a little bit. That's interesting. That's a good idea, Mike. I'm gonna try
next
that
week. I'll bring you to the brewery. We'll have a little party.
Go.
Maybe next
holiday
week.
Season.
Maybe in January you guys start noodling around with this and
I'll start it right here.
Can I please be on your team? I want to be back in the circle.
And if it does happen and it started here, just send us a bottle and we'll be happy.
That sounds fair enough.
Or send us one of your mason jar experiments. Do you guys remember when you came in with your in the first trial and you had your little jar? Do you remember any of the feedback you got at that first one that maybe ended up influencing the final product that we're having tonight?
That's a good question.
It is a good question.
Gosh.
I think I remember. I think like the scalability of that was like. I mean, the score was like 1 to 4, right? And like we got some. Nobody gets a 4, but we got some high marks on it.
I will say one of the notable things to me was coriander plays a big part in this, and I think in cola as well. And we got some feedback from somebody, one of our friends, Joey, who was like, "This is soapy. It's not good. It's really bad." We're like, "Oh, that's so bizarre," because everything else was like pretty good. Yeah, and we're like, everything is pretty good. So I went up to Joey and I was just like, "Hey, man, I just want to pick your brain about this. What do you think was going on, or I want to improve this." And we were talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, the coriander soapiness." And then it kind of clicked to me. I was like, "Hey, do you like cilantro?" And he's like, "I hate cilantro. Cilantro's terrible." Because coriander is the seed of cilantro.
Yes.
And I was like, I wonder if there's some connection there. And so ever since then, we just disregarded his comments.
Tell Joey to take a hike. Joey, what do you think?
Well,
See you, Joey.
Joey's gonna hate this.
Thank you very much, Joey.
Poor Joey. Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot, and not for this year. You can go back to when you first started, because we're not, and no names. As these trials go on, other than your own crazy ideas with the the Brussels sprouts and hot peppers.
I love how everyone you change and it's close. It's important.
Has there been one idea that just was so outrageous that you were just like, how do you even work here? What brought you? How do you work at Goose? And no names, and it can go back. Maybe it's somebody who doesn't work there again, or anymore, or whatever.
Ooh.
This person know who they are, but the you were joking, was it Jason? You brought up the Szechuan pepper.
Yeah.
That one, like, I read it and I'm like, no, they didn't. And like,
you remember the label, Mike? They go try this one last. They go, try this one.
And everybody, like, they were like, yeah, they did. Try it last though. Like, you don't want to ruin the experience. Like that one was a stretch. I don't want to say it was like bad, but like there were 45 different variants in that room. That was dead last for round 2.
Can I follow up? Can I follow up with a question on that? Like I think sometimes the most surprising ingredient combinations end up being big hits. Last year, my wife is kind of like, my spouse is kind of like Brian's spouse. Not always a huge fan of the darker bourbon barrel aged beers, but man, that Earl Grey variant,
That's Paul. That's my boy.
Yeah. Oh, that's the guy right there.
Thank you from my wife.
Another giant smile from Paul.
I bought a lot of Bourbon County Stout last year, and like I had like 4 bottles, and she was like, "Those are mine." She was all over it. I feel like that was a very like, some people love it kind of a beer. So, what is one of maybe the most unexpected ones? Did Paul? Did you expect that one to hit as hard as it did?
No, definitely. And even when we were making it, we were all talking to ourselves saying like, we know that this is going to be divisive. We know that some people are going to love it. Cause I really did. I thought it was super compelling. I think tea has some amazing characteristics that complement the beer really well, but it's not for everybody. And there were people that really hated it. And so I went into it with that mindset, and it was funny. Our same friend Joey kept sending me all the bad reviews.
What's the deal with Joey? Joey, very negative. We don't know. We don't like Joey.
This is what your friends do for you.
Joey.
Yes, they're honest.
So I want to say this too. Like I think. So we're this is one of my dearest friends, and when he was bench top trialing this variant last year. Oh man! Again, so the 1 liter examples, right? You're making them up, and he's bench top, and he's like, "You got to, come taste this. Give me your opinion." And I'm just like, I can remember tasting this at like 9 a.m. on a Wednesday or something. I've been like, "Hey, buddy, this is not good. This is like you need to walk away from this." And he's like, "No, I think I got something here." And like he even had to convince me on that one, which it came out so good. But oh man, I remember there were some touch and go moments with that variant.
But Paul, why was he sending you bad reviews of it?
Well, okay. So the bad reviews, what I kept telling myself is like, people are passionate about this. People are passionate about Bourbon County Stout. They take it really seriously, and I think we really do care. We care about people's opinions, and the bad reviews were okay to me because I knew that people weren't going to like it, and I knew that some people were going to love it. But I think it just shows how much people care about it.
Mike, does it bother you when your brewers say, "Yeah, we knew people were going to hate it. We brewed it anyway"?
Yeah. Well, no, what I would say, what I was going to answer even before that is, we've been, making variants on Bourbon County since 2009, and we've done tons of trials like we're talking about now, and every year, like some people try the variant that didn't get picked last year and they're like, I can do it, I'm gonna do the same one this year, and some are like, wipe the slate, start clean. We've done a lot of cool variants, and we challenge ourselves. We pioneered this brand of stout and bourbon barrels, and people ask us like, just do vanilla every year, just do a s'mores BCS, just do a German chocolate cake, just do your version of a Mexican a chocolate drink, and
those all sound pretty good, quite frankly.
Yeah, but we could do that.
You've done them, yeah.
Yeah, we've done some of them. We could do
course.
that, but how can we push where bourbon aged beers can go, just like we started so many years ago? And Paul's recipe last year with that London Fog, Kentucky Fog variant, so cool. I mean, who could bring tea and honey together? And it's not everybody's cup of tea, dad joke in too.
Wow.
But,
Yes.
we did it the
Bravo.
best way Bourbon County
Bravo.
could this year with Classic Cola. There's friends
Yeah.
that reach out to me like, I don't like cola. I'm not gonna like it. I'm like, I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like cola, then
Yeah, who cares? See you
Yeah,
later.
don't try
We
this
have
one.
we have
Yeah.
7 others. You could try something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
You'll
Mike's
enjoy
right.
one
I
of the
mean,
others.
we really are trying to push the limits and in a good way. Like, we'll never put out something that we know everybody's gonna hate. But
yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
Once again, Mike-
But
Mike's Chipotle sausage and mustard.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not
I am
gonna
The hot
work.
taking
dog
notes
water
on all
variant
these,
isn't going
by
to
the
make
way.
it, guys. The hot dog water, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes on all these.
I hope so. I want some
But
credit.
if we don't make a few people upset, maybe we're not doing our job.
Yeah, I think
Listen,
I think we
yeah.
Yeah, I think we like I mean, like, I don't know, we like the challenge. I think amongst all the brewers, it's always a fun challenge to try and push it, right? And like every year as we get deeper into this, and then like, people that are here, they see the variants that people get put up that don't go or don't get chosen. And so every year it's a new challenge just to like try and, I don't say reinvent the wheel, but like come up with a new concept and like what could be what could be a fresh take on something. And so it's like kind of always pushing it. And Paul, it was so great that Paul actually got the tea last year, because like we learned and Paul learned particularly like so much about what it was to take to make something that was so different with a barrel-aged stout, that when we came to this one where Paul was using like, 3 ingredients, and now we're using like 9 and having to train our palates to taste that beer as we're moving along the process. It was quite literally invaluable. I mean, I really think like you getting that variant right made this variant help it taste like the way it did. Like it all came into play. So like so many learning lessons as you go along, like making these beers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations, Paul Caden and Jason Krasowski on.
You said my name
class-
last rain night. Thank you so much.
Listen, I'm a professional. Even if I have drunk a bunch of Bourbon County Stout,
Right.
I can still. Congratulations on the Classic Cola Bourbon County
Thank you,
Stout.
guys.
It is phenomenal.
Cheers, guys.
Mike Smith, the brand manager for Bourbon County Stout and the Vintage Portfolio. Again, Black Friday, the big release. Because of the pandemic last year, a lot of places are doing the lotteries, so there's no camping out, but there's anywhere you get your Bourbon County Stout, you'll still be able to get your Bourbon County Stout. So go and pick it up. If you go to gooseisland.com, there's a list of jewels that have it. There's, you know where to get it. Again,
check with your local liquor store, and they'll let you know how to get it.
Yes,
Yeah, I think
and if
someone's asking if they sell in Wisconsin. I believe we're in Wisconsin, right, Mike?
yes,
We're
you
in-
do. They sell in Wisconsin. The only thing that will not be in Wisconsin, of course, is the Proprietors, which this year is based on one of the delicious strawberry shortcake ice cream bars that you used to enjoy from the Good Humor Man. But if you're everywhere, you'll be able to get Classic Cola, and you'll be able. Wow, I almost messed it up there. Be able to pay tribute to Paul and Jason, who've come up with this great recipe. Mike, again, congratulations to everybody at Goose Island on another fantastic year of Bourbon County Stout variants. They are all delicious, and just not to panic, people. We don't want to create a rush, but if you're looking for the Reserve Series, they're going to be a little harder to find. The Classic Cola is going to be a little harder to find. So get out early. What are you doing the day after Thanksgiving? Why not go looking for beers? That's the best thing to do.
Sure.
And then go home, sit out on your deck or in your living room or in your basement or, I don't know, under your couch, wherever you want to sit and drink them. I'm not the boss of you.
Whatever you got.
Yeah, drink wherever you want.
I also,
I know your life.
Jason, just real quick, earlier you talked about how much labor and effort is involved on so many parties. And I got a shout out to all the places doing lotteries. I entered the Binny's lottery. Jules got a lottery. Everybody's got a lottery for this thing. But I also, I brought this up with the designer of this year's and last year's Proprietors blend when we talked to her last year. But, also thanking you guys for giving people something to do that it's pretty much pandemic proof. Because for people like me, right, the hunt is part of the fun of this, especially if, because of course you can get some of these on tap at the Goose Island, tap room downtown if you go downtown. But If you're further out like me, you got a kid, it's harder to get in there.
Cody lives in North Dakota.
Yeah, basically. Suburbs. Thank you very much. It's an event to try to hunt these down and get your hands on them. And, to the Earl Grey experience, things like that. Like, whether people end up loving the beers or not loving them as much, although they'll love 99% of them, it gives them something to do and experience. It's something special that they can do from home safely away from the whole pandemic deal. You can
drink them all by yourself. That's what Cody's saying. He likes to sit in the dark and drink them by himself.
Difficult to drink by yourself, but it really does give people something cool to do and experience, and it does give you a unique, genuine flavor every time. So, thanks for doing that, because it's so much beyond just making a new beer you can get anywhere. It's an event, and I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, I will touch on that and just say, like, I was buying Bourbon County Stout like before I worked for Goose Island, and like I'm drinking out of a Rare Day glass just before.
Whoa!
Wow, that is a weird flex. I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
And so I mean, shouts to all my friends in Northwest Indiana, which is where I'm originally from, and like I had my favorite spot that I would go to where I knew I could get, like, back then it was the 4-pack still, like get that and stuff like that. And so like part of the hunt is like part of the challenge. And then I think what I like now is that, that hunt, along with that hunt goes the reward of like just kind of like sharing it, right? And the format and the bottle that we have in now is like just sharing it, which is
beautiful.
Honestly, part of like what we liked about our cola was again circle back to the cola.
Of course, the classic cola. We got to circle back, give it its props.
Yeah, circle back. So
that's very good.
Yeah.
No, well, we appreciate it, and everybody's doing barrel age, but Goose Island Bourbon County Stout is the OG. You started it all. You keep putting out quality stuff every year, and we always appreciate you taking time to talk to us. Mike Smith is the senior brand manager of Bourbon County Stout and the Vintage Portfolio, and the men who came up and created the classic cola Bourbon County Stout this year, Paul Cade and Jason Krasowski, the brewers. Look at them together. Oh, we'll never see them apart. They are a team. They are joined at the hip, and that's all right. Guys, thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations again. Everything's delicious. Gentlemen, the classic cola, perfect. That one I can drink a whole bottle by myself.
Thank you guys for having us. Please come visit us at the brewery. Let's do this again at the Barrel Warehouse one of these days. What do you say?
It sounds good to me.
I'm down.
Mike, take care. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care.
Happy Black Friday.
Oh, yeah. Happy Black Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Cody the G.
I am going to destroy this bottle of classic cola. I did not expect. All right, so great.
I'm enthralled by all of it.
We got 3 bottles, right? Okay.
Yes.
We got, and we got the 150 small batch.
Take a breath.
Look at this. 150 small batch, right?
Yep.
Look at that. In Old Forester 150th anniversary barrels. That's insane, right? Then we got the Blanton. The Blantons comes in a bag, like the Blanton's bag. It comes with the horse, like, okay. And then we get this nondescript. I think we can all agree.
Nondescript. It came in the regular. It came in the regular Bourbon County Stout bottle.
This is what I'm saying. It's comparatively nondescript. It's a bottle of
beer,
yeah,
right? I think the boys are going to be angry that they didn't get special, like they didn't make a can to drop their bottle in. I think there's going to be something about there, and I don't blame them. They need to be, a little shout out, but I also understand that we can't make everything. There's a marketing cost.
Right. Oh, we got these boxes, right? We got the 150 in this tube. We got the blends in this and a bag, and then we got just a bottle. And you're like, well, okay, the cola will be. You're like, okay, the cola will be fine. And then you're like, no, it is way more than fine. I just poured a bottle. What did I pour? I poured a snifter for my wife. She came in here at the last second to give me a stopper to save this, but I'm not saving any of it.
No.
She gave me a stopper in case I want to save any of it. And I got to tell you, man, like, I hope she
No.
loved it.
I don't have to work tomorrow, so I can fit, I may not wake up tomorrow when I finish these, but yeah, it's full disclosure. I was lucky enough to be in with Dave Plyer last week, and I got to try all 8 variants. And so I knew how special coming in tonight was going to be. I knew how special it was going to be to try the 150 and the Blantons and the Classic Cola. And I got to tell you, if you get a chance, they were all good. If you get a chance to get the double toasted, which is the 2 different Elijah Craig barrels, do yourself a favor. I know retail, that one is a little higher than the other ones. Trust me, it is worth it. It's one of those ones that you buy and you keep for a special occasion and share it with somebody or a couple people that you care about. It is phenomenal. The cherry wood, which I got to try first at Fobab, is really, they use a toasted wood, and I was able to talk to Mike Siegel, the head of innovation, when he was on with Dave, because I use cherry wood when I smoke meat. Now, it's not the same, but the cherry wood brings out, as Mike told us, the cherry wood brings out a whole different complexity in the beer. So it's just phenomenal. And then, the original, I've said this every year, the original is the original, and there's nothing better. So you're not gonna beat the original. But the proprietors this year, if you live in the Chicago area and you can get your hands on a bottle of proprietors this year, do it. When I was a kid, I hated strawberries, but I loved the strawberry shortcake ice cream bar.
Last year, it's the same brewer that created this.
Emily created tiramisu last year.
Emily's proprietors.
Yeah.
No, not
Tiramisu
tiramisu.
last year.
No, it was Neapolitan, wasn't it?
Nope, last year was tiramisu.
Tiramisu?
Yes. It came to her in a dream, remember? She said it came to her in a dream, and she...
No, Spumoni. It was Spumoni. It was Spumoni.
Okay, all right,
Spumoni.
Spumoni.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah, it was Spumoni.
Okay,
Close,
you're
close,
right.
close.
I knew it was an Italian dessert.
Yeah,
I didn't say cannoli, so that's good, right?
You get a great deal of credit. Brenda in the chat said I'm slurring my words. I am definitely slurring my words, and what do you want me to do about it?
Your dad also wants you to bring some of this to Thanksgiving dinner.
I'll hook him up best I can.
You'll hook your dad up? All right.
That's
nice of you.
Look, this is, I just drank like 4 snifters of 15% beer, and I don't eat or sleep. So, here we are.
Good news is you'll sleep tonight.
Maybe we'll see.
All right. Well, listen, once again, I want to thank Mike Smith, Paul Cade, and Jason Krasowski for being with us tonight.
Yeah.
It is always a pleasure. Every year we look forward to this.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to win. Very jazzed. I got my prop day pickup the other day because I won the prop day raffle. And again, it was sad to not be able to go to the big prop day festival, but it was cool to be able to drive through. And this year they did it with Osner, the app, just as smooth as last year. Zipped in, got my beautiful little box, zipped out. It was great. So I'm looking forward to that. I got a cherry wood in there, a couple of proprietors, and a 14, which Mike touched on. I was not a BCS guy back in 2014. So I guess to bring this one back, I tried it the other night and it is phenomenal. So if you get a chance to pick up any of these on Black Friday and you are a BCS fan, this is, and people go, oh, what are you on we do this because we're fans. That's why we're fans. And are we fortunate that when, we get a couple bottles to taste with the guys? Yes, we are.
Yeah.
But if we didn't listen, you've listened to me long enough. You've listened to Cody long enough. If we didn't like it, it'd be like, oh,
do you know how much I spent on Bourbon County Stout last year? Do you know
I
how much
know
this year?
I know how much you're going to spend this year.
Oh my God. So, all right. So a little behind the scenes. All right. Last year was a disaster for my Goose Island Bourbon County Stout hunt. All right.
Okay.
I forgot to enter the prop day raffle. which
Oh,
I'm an
you're
idiot.
so sad.
Very sad. Then I entered the Jewel Osco, lottery. Didn't get anything. Entered the Benny's. I entered all these lotteries. So I ended up having to enter lotteries to win BCS at various random liquor stores, basically.
Bob's House of Liquor Distribution.
Yeah. Now, I love Bourbon County Stout as much as the next person, clearly. I wanted the rare variants, right?
Mhm.
It's hard to get birthday stout. It's hard to get anniversary stout. You can walk in at
Yes.
you can walk into most places and get an original, maybe a coffee,
Sure.
a couple, usually a handful are pretty widely distributed. So
Distributed?
distributed, yeah. So
All right,
last
as
year-
long as they're distributed.
Well, last year I entered all these raffles, and here's what they would do. They would say, hey, you can enter to win one Goose Island anniversary stout. Isn't that great?
One.
And it comes with 7 originals, 4 maples, and 3 of the Earl Grey. So you end up, I ended up paying like $160 to get one of the variants I really wanted and a bunch of other ones that I could buy anywhere.
Yeah.
So I spent a good, I literally spent several $100 specifically on Bourbon County Stout last year. So, and that tells you how much of a fan I am.
But now this year you have also, now I was fortunate. I won the prop day raffle last year and this year, but I didn't win any of the other ones that I entered. But
well,
you now have won an S load. Would that be accurate? You have won an S load of raffles for this year.
No, I'm sitting pretty. So I answered the Benny's raffle. Didn't expect to win. I won.
And your wife
I won the Benny's raffle. I won the Benny's raffle. I get one of every variant. And my wife also won the raffle to get one of every variant. Now,
nice.
This means I'm spending more than $500.
Well, I told you I'll buy some of your extras that I don't have. So I will, I'll offset some of your cost.
Well,
but then here's the thing. We have to sit down and drink them. That's because right now, like, I'm excited. I'm taking a couple to Thanksgiving, taking a 2019 proprietors and a 2019 original to Thanksgiving. I hope I'm not the only one to drink them, but if I am, I will not be eating turkey.
No,
I will just be laying on the floor in a fetal position and Debbie will be driving home.
You forgot my wife also won the Jewel Osco raffle.
All right.
Which entitles her to one of each variant at our local Jewel Osco. If she chooses, they are purchased individually.
Right.
So we can say, well, we would like a cola and we would like a 150 and we would like maybe a double barrel.
Double toasted.
Double toasted. That's all. So we have to figure out our budget.
All right, I can I will Venmo. I
Venmo
actually
me some money.
Listen, dude, I am all about the Venmo and the PayPal now. A couple people PayPal'd me some money. I transferred it to my account. I've had to Venmo Molly money. Oh, I'm all about and you know how much I hate it. I like to just deal with cash. Here you go. Here's a 50. That'll handle it. I hate it a ton.
Wow, that's a lot. That's 2,000 pounds of hate.
I hate it. I hate it as much as I hate it a lot. I like talking to the guy. It's fun. Now, so here, a little behind the scenes. Can I give you a little behind the scenes?
You can. By the way, my wife's review is I like it, a sort of chocolate cherry cola.
Ooh, very nice for the lovely wife.
Yeah.
Very nice. I was in with Dave Plyer, as I said last week, which again on WGN. Second time in a month, Cody. I've been back on WGN.
World's greatest newspaper radio?
How weird was that I would be back there twice?
It's insane.
It is insane. This time I knew I wasn't getting up though with my card, so I just got I got a call from the producer. He was a little panicked. I was supposed to go on at 7:30 and it was 7:10, which is still 20 minutes beforehand. And he calls me and I was actually in the elevator from the parking garage to the lobby. But anyway, so I see Emily and I'm like, oh my gosh, do you remember being on with us last year? And she's like, yeah, I do. And all of that. so we were talking, and what Paul and Jason said was correct. She was pregnant when she came up with this year's proprietor's blend. And so I was talking to her, and I joked with her too about getting some big barrel rings that she needs to, she's done it 3 times. She needs to have these giant rings to show she's a great. But I said, "Oh, we've got I'm talking." At this point, I didn't have Paul and Jason's name in front of me, and I, how bad I am with names. I said, "I'm talking to the brewers who came up with the cola variant." And she's like, "Oh my God, Paul and Jason, they are hilarious. They are so funny. They're like best friends, and they came up with this variant together, and blah 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 blah." So I knew coming in that they were going to be fun. And we've talked to Mike before, and he's always great. So it's fun. And somebody, well, it was they read this comment, but I think this is, one of the reasons we do this is we're very passionate about it. We love it. We're fans. So, but Barbara sent a text, "I don't even drink, but love listening to you talk about beer. You're so passionate about it." And we found that with, and I'm not trying to, it's not the BCS talking. That's what we did with At the Breweries too, because we love it. And our love of it, I hope, translates over to the people who are watching or listening to the podcast. And then they say, "Oh, your passion, we see your passion. So let's go."
Yeah. I think there's research out there that baby boomers and their generation like to have things to show off. Like, I've got a cool Corvette, or I've got a cool big house, or I've got a boat, right?
I don't have any of those things, just FYI.
Well, you do. You've got a boat somewhere, right?
Well, do you consider a yacht a boat? I don't. I consider like a dinghy a boat. I have a monster yacht.
Sure.
I have a helicopter.
Right.
I have 3 or 4 trophy wives.
So right. So that's the thing you show off, right?
Sure.
Millennials culturally tends towards experiences, right? They like, that's why you see Instagram as such a thing. I'm going to go to this dumb thing that's stupid and overpriced, but it gives me a good Instagram selfie and I get to show it off, or just experiencing things. And I have found that I fall into the experience category. I like to show people, like, let's say my studio closet that I'm in, because it's something I worked on. But for the most part, things like, like the fact that I get to experience the Bourbon County style, like, that's big for me. So, and it is an experience I look forward to
every year.
And that's the, God's honest truth. I really do. It's special. And it's not just Goose. I'll be totally transparent. Revolution Brewing has a deep wood series every month from about October through January. They have one date where they release a bunch of their deep wood series, typically barrel aged stouts, or somewhere
right. The Death Star
series. I have them all on my calendar. I got Octobers, I got Novembers, I got their Blackberry Fin and their other drinks. I have it on my calendar for a couple of weeks from now, from December. So,
and I like grabbing the stuff from Lakefront Brewing in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee Brewing, and everybody's got good stuff. But it's and that doesn't, liking a bunch doesn't take away from any. And the fact that, the ability that we are fortunate enough to have to talk to the guys who started it all is very exciting. And, listen, you and I have talked to a bunch of brewers, and we continue to talk to a bunch of brewers, and we, because this is one of our things. We love it. But yeah, there is something, like, I'm working Black Friday in Milwaukee at TMJ. I'm going to try to get, by the time I get to Lakefront, I'll probably get just the equivalent of the original at Goose Island, because they have a couple variants, and those, they do them at the brewery and they go really fast. And I'm not going to drive all over Wisconsin to get them, but I'll go to Lakefront and I'll get a bottle of their just regular bourbon barrel aged stout for that year. And I'll enjoy it just like I enjoyed the one I got last year, the year before. so there's a lot of people doing it. Some of them do it really well, but there's no discounting the fact that since 1992, Goose Island has been doing this, and they're synonymous with it. Everybody else is doing it, and some doing it really well. And quite frankly, and we've talked about this every year after FOBAB, some breweries not as well. And that's, that's just a fact, and it's, it's okay, whatever it is. But that's why I always say I never have a doubt. You could put an original BCS in front of me every year and I would enjoy it, because every year it's consistently good. And the proprietors, to me, has always been consistently good. You and I differ on some of the variants. Like some you like a lot and some I'm like, okay.
Not a ton, but I always say that.
You know what? Here's the biggest thing where we differ. You really like coffee variants.
Oh, true.
And
true.
I am not a coffee variant guy, and that's okay. And this year, Goose doesn't have a coffee variant. I was going to ask Mike about that. I forgot about that. But but that's okay.
Yeah.
If I'm not, that doesn't mean it's not good. It means for me, and we talked about this with the guys, for me, it's not my favorite. But this other one that I think is my favorite might not be somebody else's favorite.
I was actually the one question I didn't get to ask them was, do you think it would be a good idea to release one beer every year that you think is very polarizing? Because that Earl Grey beer was polarizing.
Yeah.
Like my wife loved it. And, I didn't want to tell the brewer, but it was not my cup of tea, as it were. And it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't my favorite. But my wife, like I said, she was like, all right, but
you have a house of two people and it was 50-50.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good.
The other thing Jason talked about was sharing, the experience of sharing.
Yes.
I don't know if we mentioned this to our listener, but, Brian and I got together a couple weeks ago.
They're plural listeners. There's not just one. We have more than one listener.
I narrowcast, Brian.
Do you?
I address the audience as listener.
I'm a broadcaster, Cody.
We got an email.
I only broadcast to the broads.
We got an email from Pat Metheny one time.
Is that right?
We got an email from Pat Metheny. Check this out. Hold on.
All right. I'll hold on.
Hold on. I'll tell my wife. This is
Is your wife there? Hello, wife.
This is the Goose Island.
Oh my gosh, she's tearing your place up.
You break a glass?
Is she drunk too?
Oh my gosh, she dropped a glass. It didn't break though.
On the curtain.
All right, it's a stout aged in Old Forester. This is a stout aged in Old Forester.
Oh, you're giving her the 150.
150th anniversary bourbon barrels. We'll see how you like this.
You're going to like this one, Dr. Mrs. Cody.
Forester is a very fancy bourbon. So this one is a little more boozy, but it has a dry finish. So enjoy. Yeah.
Well, now that you've overdetermined.
I've overdetermined. I'm marketing.
No, this is just he's not making it up. These are notes that you can
they're
find.
very good. She can't hear you.
I know
but,
that.
She said that I'm not making it up. Is it good?
Uh-oh.
Yes, it's delicious. She's
I see Mike is still hanging around. He's listening. He wants to see if we broke bad on him after he left. No chance, Mike. We're not going to.
It's like whiskey. It's like whiskey. She gets the booziness. Like whiskey.
The Old Foresters and the Blantons. That's why I love them so much. There is that. The bourbon is really there. It's really, really good.
She goes, it's boozy. How strong is this? Asking for a friend. Do you want some of the cola? I'll drink that.
Tell your friend it's 15.6% alcohol.
Yeah, it is 15.6% alcohol.
Okay.
No, but like I actually
Who's going to take care of the baby tomorrow?
Who's going to take care of the baby? One of us will figure it out. No. I was going to say I loved that there was a divisive.
Oh yeah,
that Earl Grey, because I liked all the other ones so much I didn't want her to drink them. But then I could be like, well, here, you can have some Earl Grey. Boop, 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 boop. You know what I mean?
No, there was every year. Well, every year there's some, there's 8 variants. There's 7, not counting the original. There's something for everybody. And you don't, I would imagine
Want you?
everybody at Goose would love you to like all of them equally. But
Wonder what Brian's saying.
She's
Tell her
like
I'm
walking
saying-
away. She's like, I wonder what Brian is actually saying right now.
tell her it's fascinating. Whatever I'm
It's
saying is
fascinating.
fascinating.
It's extremely fascinating. Everything he
Fascinating.
says is very genius.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't believe how good. I
Oh,
am.
she said I already knew that.
Oh, stop it. Yes, Mike sent us a message. He says, love them or not, they are all unforgettable. And that is true. And that goes to my point that there are enough variants where, while the hope is that you will like them all, we're going to like some better than others. And that doesn't mean that one is great and one is horrible. It's like, I like this one better than this one.
Yeah.
I would rather have sausage and pepperoni on my pizza than just sausage. That doesn't mean if you gave me a sausage pizza, I wouldn't go, man, this is a kick-ass pizza. I'd go, oh, there's two here. I'm going to pick this one.
I hate sausage pizza.
Well, yeah, but you're a weirdo.
I'm
So
a
that
weirdo.
doesn't bother me.
That's true.
Who doesn't, not liking a sausage pizza makes you a weirdo.
It's an
Somebody wanted to
abomination.
know if your hair was green earlier.
It's green.
What's going on with your green leprechaun hair tonight?
Someone asked. It looks fine to me. I don't really know.
I don't know. Oh, your boy, your hairdresser guy. I tried to make an appointment. He has no appointments through the end of the year. I don't know
Dude,
what's going on. I can't
My
get a haircut.
hairdresser. All right.
Your
Brian went to one of
hairdresser.
the-
I can't believe we went from talking look at us talking about stouts to now going, your hairdresser doesn't have any appointments.
I love this beer. I have had enough to where I'm sufficiently buzzed. I am spending
I will
hundreds of dollars on this.
I will
beer
drink
because
BCS in the chair of my hairstylist.
I
don't care. I'm not
love
afraid.
this. Like, and it is like, we cracked it open because right before you came over, I had a
Right.
couple of Revolutions and they were
had you?
great.
Okay.
They make a kick-ass.
Oh, before I
kick-ass
came over
beers.
to your house.
Yeah. But dude, the Bourbon County Stout is its own category of beer.
Of course it is.
Like
They're
and
the
that's,
OGs.
That's why you came over. We warmed up, I think.
I forgot I
here's what
forgot to tell Mike about the mystery one we had from last year's prop day box.
we had the mystery one.
The mystery one with the big question mark on it, which was barrel-aged stout with coconut. And we had held on. This sounds beer nerdy, but we had held on to it for a year. Or I held on to it for a year because I didn't want to open it by myself.
Mhm.
And you're very busy.
Mhm.
But when we opened it together, it was like, what's in the mystery bottle? What's in the mystery bottle? Oh, it was good in the mystery bottle. I wish that I know Mike is still listening. Maybe take the mystery bottle instead of doing your baby carrots and bok choy mix next year. Instead of that, maybe your coleslaw mix and your hot mayo. Maybe you go with that the whatever was in the mystery. Steal that recipe and add a little something to it. You might have something there. I'm not saying I don't know. What do I know? Just a guy who drank a bottle with a big. Oh, all right. Mike's sending another message. Mystery 8 was a nod to remaking of Proprietors 13. And this year they did the remaking of Proprietors 14. All right. See? I don't know. I'm finding all these ingredients that Mike is trying to put into the variants. Connected, maybe. So, should we think about what might next year's be? I stroke my imaginary goatee. If we get a 15 next year, that'll be great.
I am.
You are drunk. Let's be honest. You are hammered.
I'm back to the 150. The 150 was quite excellent. I'm going to go to the Blantons next.
I wish there were people in the house besides Debbie who won't drink. To the Blantons in the 150. I'm going to cork them, and we're going to see. That means I have to finish them tomorrow.
No, that was the other thing I was going to say. I mean, I fully agreed with what they said about corking. I mean, last year, and I think part of it is that the Bourbon County Stouts typically aren't very, as you said, effervescent.
I did say effervescent. Wasn't that a good word?
No, I would have said carbonated, but that's actually probably a word. But
I like effervescent better. It's livelier, a little fizzier, a little more beauty than just
probably,
carbonated.
Yeah. No, it's probably way better. So, okay, when you and I went to the Festival of Barrel-Aged Beers, FOBAB.
Yes, right.
We went a couple years ago. We tried 30 40 barrel aged beers.
About 45 or 50.
I knew
Yeah,
immediately from the consistency whether I liked it or not.
Right.
And if there was like what tasted like carbonation, or there was like a bite to it, I immediately dumped it out. I didn't like it. And the only beers to pass the like really good, smooth, malty, bourbon barrel aged, full, thick taste were, I mean, clearly the Bourbon County Stout, 100% every time. And there were a few other ones, none of which I have ever found since. I wrote them down. I know you did. You took notes. I'd go to liquor stores. I'd go to Binny's. I'm like, I can't find it. None of these are regional. None of these are widely distributed. There's no way to get them. And there were only a few, right?
Okay.
So that is one of the things I appreciate about the Bourbon County Stout. I will say the cola did have a little bit of the like, not carbonate. Like there's
it was a light. There was a little bit lighter.
There's a touch of lightness, which makes me wonder almost if this would actually keep better than, like, you know what I mean? Like if you uncork this, have a glass, delicious. Oh my God, amazing. Then you stopper it, put it in the fridge for a night. The next day, it almost might be, for my preferences, better to get some of that, like, effervescence out, because that, it settles.
Call me tomorrow or text me. I know you don't call me.
I'll try it tomorrow. Yeah.
I know you don't like the call. All right. Here's Mike's idea for Prop 2022. Hot dog water, 10-karat gold flakes, cilantro aged in used Malort barrel. And he's going to enter it at Fobab. Well, we'll be there. I'm not against cilantro. So far it's good. I like the Goldschlager nod with the 10-karat gold flakes. Maybe you throw a little, Goldschlager has the cinnamon. Maybe you throw a little of that. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not the mad beer scientist. Everybody at Goose has already disqualified him. That's probably smart.
I would spend
$300. That is wise.
I would spend $300 just on Goose Island Bourbon County Stout Malort variant. Just
God, not me.
Right off the bat. Let's go.
No, Mike. Down. All right, Mike, get ready. I'm bringing you in for a second. There he is. Mike's back. The Malort, please say no to the Malort variant.
Here's the thing. I have to, by my contract with the brewery, stick around for shows like this in case this question is asked.
Oh, is that?
And yeah, it's double thumbs down. I don't think you're ever going to see a Malort barrel aged Bourbon County. At least when I'm at the house.
Well, listen. Thanks again for joining us tonight. And so far, the ideas you've sent through, we are all. To be honest, we don't like them at all. We're not. I don't want to blow smoke. I think you can do better.
I know. I'm trying. I'm just throwing darts at a board right now.
Well, good luck and congratulations again, and thanks for everything tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. Always fun. Seriously though, let's get together and drink some beers at our warehouse soon. All right,
let's do it. We will. I'd love it. The holidays are a great time to sit in a barrel house and drink beer.
Oh yeah, for sure. 'Tis the season.
All right, Mike. Take care, man.
All right, you guys as well.
Happy
Cheers.
Thanksgiving. Bye-bye. All right. You are drunk. I am. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, my God. It's 10 o'clock. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's late.
We're like done.
We've been working. We've been having fun. Have a great Thanksgiving. We will talk next week, and we will recap Thanksgiving. And good luck getting all your stuff on Black Friday. I want to hear what you got. We will talk because I will. I do want to get a. I will send you to get me the double toasted, because that is another one that's worth definitely worth it and hard to find. So.
I will have about $800 in Bourbon County.
All right. Well, then
out by Friday.
You can open your Etsy shop, and I will come shopping in your Etsy shop.
No self-control. I have no self-control. It's bad.
Don't forget to listen to Cody at every day on the Curiosity Daily podcast. It's curiositydaily.com. You can hear me on WTMJ the 26th from noon to 3, the 30th from 6 to 9, and you can catch me at the Kenosha Comedy Club on November 26th and 27th. One show each night at 8 o'clock. Will I be hilarious? You bet your sweet bippy I will be hilarious. So come on out if you can get to the Kenosha Comedy Club. For all the other dates and information, of course, stay right here on the Brian Noonan Show page. And happy hunting on Black Friday. Good luck. We hope you get some. Let us know next week what you scored. Let us know what you think about it. You can always leave messages on the Facebook page. Cody, have a great Thanksgiving. Don't forget your dad really wants you to bring him some BCS. So make sure you get it. Adam Carlin from the Carolinas listening tonight. His brother Jeff, a good friend of ours. Jeff actually, as I mentioned last week, went to FOBAB with me. Jeff actually came down to let me up in the elevators the other day. So I thank Jeff. I thank Jeff, a lot. All right, I'm done. It's potty time. I've been on the air since 6 o'clock. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will see you again very soon. Gobble, a gobble.